Welcome to another edition of This Week, 60 minutes of analytical review of the big stories, topical issues and all the controversies around the world. I'm Somna Sambo. Coming up in 60 minutes, for the upteenth time, Nigeria's Senate demands sack of service chiefs, say they are bereft of ideas to tackle insurgency. And the House of Representatives summons President Buhari over Zabarmari killings. Honor your oath to provide security for Nigerians. Northern Elders Forum, in a scathing statement, says under the Buhari administration, life has lost its value. And as the UK becomes the first country in the world to approve the coronavirus vaccine, Nigeria's Senate wants the federal government to make plans for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines. Plus, Ethiopia government and the United Nations reach deal to allow unimpeded access for aid groups in Tigray. Nigerian Senate has in a resolution again demanded the sack of service chiefs, with federal lawmakers including pro-Buhari senators livid by the president's refusal to sack the military chiefs who have overstayed in office. The lawmakers say the lack of fresh ideas have widened insecurity across Nigeria, leading to the Zabarmari attack in Borno State, where at least 45 farmers were killed by Boko Haram.
And if the president insists that the security chiefs are doing their work well, then the logical implication of such assumption is that the president, as the constitutional commander-in-chief of the country, has failed in his most rudimentary assignment of securing this nation.
If we allow this to go like this, let's be ready for another morning. So that's why the effort of federal government on the security issues of Nigeria. And I totally believe the president is doing his own best. But then, doing your best is not enough when you cannot see the results on ground.
Let these service chiefs go. And if Mr. President will not remove them, we call on these service chiefs in overriding public interest to resign honorably.
Enough of any excuses. People who have little or nothing to add should be shown the way out.
The House of Representatives has also passed a resolution inviting President Buhari to brief it on the true state of security in Nigeria. The House considered a motion moved by members from Borno State on last weekend's massacre of 45 rice farmers in the state by Boko Haram insurgents. The debate became rowdy after the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, said it will be inappropriate to invite Buhari to disclose the actions being taken towards handling the security situation in the country. Some members of the House opposed the Speaker's position, and this led into a rowdy debate.
Yesterday, the President said he has given them all the support to do the job. Unfortunately, they failed to do it. My amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the security situation in the country, especially in the Northeast.
It will be counterproductive. And I understand the feelings and the emotions which you display and which you've always displayed on issues such as this. And I share that passion, I share that emotion. But in being, as parliamentarians, we must sometimes balance it and not just be a knee-jerk with what is actually practical.
For more on this, I'm now being joined by Jaafar Jaafar, a former spokesman of Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso and publisher of Daily Nigerian online newspaper. And joining us via Cisco WebEx is the former executive secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, who's joining us from Eastern Africa. Well, good to have you, Prof. Let's start with you. What are your views on these calls by the senators for the service chiefs to resign for the umpteenth time, and also the call by the House of Representative members for President Buhari to actually speak with them, and he has agreed to take up that challenge, and we hopefully are waiting him to be at the Green Chambers this week.
Thank you, Samna. Good evening, and same from here also to Jaafar. I should actually clarify, I was never the executive secretary of the National Human Rights Commission. I was the chairperson of the governing council of the National Human Rights Commission, just so that nobody says I'm misrepresenting myself. From the House of Representatives and from the Senate, too little, too late, sadly. They are part of the problem, and they've been part of the problem for a long time. Obviously, the Senate and the House represent Nigerians. Parliament is where the needs of Nigerians should be articulated. But they've spent so much time on addressing their own personal needs or wants that they have forgotten that this actually is about Nigerians. And it's also unfortunate that at every point in time, Nigerians have got to beg for the commander-in-chief to tell them how he is working to address them. We could spend the entire 60 minutes on this particular issue, but this is a president that has spent his tenure committing massacres, authorizing them against the IMN in Zaria massacre. IPOB has been proscribed as a terrorist group. We, meanwhile, have been mollycoddling Boko Haram operatives, settling them, providing them resources of the Nigerian state in order to integrate them into our communities and institutions possibly. And we've also been mollycoddling bandits in the Northeast, who clearly, in the estimation of the administration and these guys in the Senate and the House, are less dangerous than IPOB and less dangerous than Boko Haram. This is not a conversation really that makes any sense. But the problem here is not that we have a president who does not care to prevent these massacres. It's also that we have a president who does not care to show empathy after they have happened. He's not said anything. What we've heard statements said to be made for him on his behalf by members of his communications or media teams. We have not seen him say anything in his own words. We've not seen him convey anything to the families affected. He has not bothered to visit. He has not articulated any response in any way that makes sense. And these people are still trying to invite him. They should impeach him. That is the only thing left to do, because this president has failed to do his job of protecting Nigerians. The only thing left is to impeach, serve him a notice of impeachment. This is what he called for, by the way, in 2014. Why is he beyond impeachment?
For here, you have seen him going to the extreme, saying that, look, with all that have happened, we haven't seen President Buhari coming out to speak. We've only seen his aides speaking, and to him, he feels that the federal lawmakers should, pull out the big axe and impeach him. But I don't know what your views are.
Truly, with the monumental decline in insecurity in the country, I think going ahead to start impeachment process is not a bad idea, because the primary responsibility of any government is ensuring the security of the people and their property. That is the primary responsibility of any government. And it is impeachable offense for government to fail in this regard. And Buhari has woefully failed to provide security in this country. Look at a stretch of less than 200 kilometers from Kaduna to Abuja. How many generals do we have? We have National Security Advisor, a general. We have the President, a general. We have Chief of Army Staff, a general. We have everybody, the Minister of Defense. And all of them are Northerners. And this is the artery, this is the link that is linking Northerners to the nation's capital. If that road cannot be secure for over 6 years of this administration, or it is so unfortunate that the situation is even escalating, is deteriorating.
Yeah. There was, for example, a meeting with some online groups and all of that today. What were some of those outcomes? Because some of you are calling for a secure north right now. That's the hashtag that's going on. Really. What are some of the solutions you're proffering?
Yes, most of the discussions revolve around this. I haven't joined the conversation.
But what are Northerners saying?
But I know really, because this is general force. Even real Buhari supporters are now reclining, are now going back to be bold enough to start criticizing him, to start making a civic remark on him, because the failure is monumental.
And what we wonder, why is Buhari not speaking himself?
No, truly, everybody is wondering. Never have I thought in my wildest dream this is the Buhari I voted for in 2015. Because we had hopes in him that he will salvage the country from all these maladies, the issue of insecurity, the issue of Boko Haram, the issue of banditry that started in some part of the Northwest. Because at that time, in 2015, the issue was almost pushed to a corner. But now they have come across the towns. There are incidences in Kano, incidences in a lot of
almost
incidences in Nigeria. So it is going like a wildfire, consuming like virtually everyone. Part of the
all right, let's get to hear the views of Prof here before we go on the break. Just very quickly, Prof, what do you think should be the solutions to all of this? Because we all know what the problems and challenges are. What are you proffering apart from what you said earlier on?
Why should I prefer any other thing, my brother? Look, a friend told me yesterday, or said it, President Buhari is like a masquerade that is only brought out for special occasions. That is not what was on offer, and that's not what's on offer for the office of the president. If they serve him with a notice of impeachment, maybe we'll bring him out for the special occasion. So let's serve him with a notice of impeachment. That's all I've got to offer.
Just hold your thoughts there. We'll have to go on a very short break right now. You're still watching This Week. Plenty more still to come. Stay with us. Welcome back to This Week, where we have the best of analysis and conversations. I'm Somna Sambo. The Northern Elders Forum says under the Buhari administration, life has lost its value and more citizens are coming under the influence of criminals. The body says it does not see any evidence of a willingness on the part of President Buhari to honor his oath of office to ensure the security of Nigerians. In its words, and I quote, "In civilized nations, leaders who fail so spectacularly to provide security will do the honorable thing and resign," end of quote. In a statement, the forum expressed outrage at the killing of farmers in Borno State and of many other people on a daily basis in most parts of Nigeria, especially the north. It said it has consistently drawn attention to a lack of political will to fight the Boko Haram insurgency and other security threats. According to the Northern Elders Forum, suggestions on how the security infrastructure can be improved and the leadership of the military made more effective have made no impression on President Buhari. Let's take a listen to them.
It doesn't appear as if our leader is leading. He enjoys the power. We gave him the power to govern. He's not governing. We give him the power to exercise responsibility. He's taken the power and he's sitting with it in the villa. Because of his failure to lead, because of his failure to exercise responsible governance, we are paying a huge price. I think President Buhari's problem is that he thinks it is enough just to be president, and he doesn't have to do anything else. And that is really tragic for Nigerians. I think maybe in his mind, having become president, he's done a favor to Nigerians. He's now president. Anything else that follows that is not his fault. I have delegated responsibilities to this because that is his classic response. I have service chiefs, they are fighting the war. I have delegated this, I've done this, I've done that. It's too serious to play politics with security. We don't denigrate our military. We know they are doing a good job. We know most of them will do better if they are well supported. We know many of them, they are Nigerians, they are patriotic, and we support them.
And still with me in the studio is the former spokesman of Kano State Governor and publisher of daily Nigerian online newspaper, Jaafar Jaafar. And from our overflow studio, I'm sorry to say, through Cisco WebEx, we have Professor Chidi Odinkalu, former chairman, governing council of the National Human Rights Commission, joining us. Well, we'll just go to you straight again, Prof. What would you suggest the Northern Elders Forum are trying to do through this statement that they've issued, and which Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, has said that they are just trying to play politics with security matters?
I know Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed very well. He's like an elder brother. And the one thing I know is this is not something he plays politics with. This is something he's committed to. And don't forget, Hakim was Permanent Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Permanent Secretary Interior, and Executive Secretary of the INEC. This is a distinguished public servant, by the way, in his own right. And he took his PhD from Warwick University. So I think Lai Mohammed is really not qualified. And this is obviously an interested party, and he's the information minister of the administration. But I do think the point of view of the northern elders, which is unexceptionable, by the way, should be taken exceptionally seriously. I don't think they're playing. The people who are dying the most, let's be clear, are northerners all over the place. There are northerners who are being killed left, right, and center. Compared to what any killings happening in the south, there's no competition. Let's all agree on the facts. So they do have a self-interest in articulating this kind of response, and I think we should take them seriously.
By Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State. He has written 6 recommendations that he wants the federal government to take a listen to. One of them actually is that we should think of bringing back mercenaries like the former administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan did to actually drive out these insurgents and then collaborate more with neighboring countries. And then he also wants civilian JTF to be integrated into the army. What do you think? How feasible are some of the suggestions?
Truly, I think this is the last, the only solution, the last resort we have towards solving this issue of insecurity in the northeast and northwest. I think if you look at how these mercenaries worked, and if you look at the efficacy of their incursions into the terrorist territories, you see that they are so effective in decimating them and also reclaiming territories they once held. I could remember during the last days of Jonathan, I think in less than, in a matter of weeks, they dropped out.
Before the 2015 general election, when former NSA Sambo said that they should give them time in 3 weeks or so, and then they
in a matter of weeks, those Belarusian mercenaries, they brought
South African mercenaries, just combination of all of them.
They dropped them out, and I could remember when Buhari assumes office as a president, I could remember Damasak and some other towns were in control of Chadian armies. You understand? They control after the liberation of the Damasak and some towns of the northeast. I think Chadian armies remained there. And when Nigerian government decided not to engage them, when they go back to their country.
Yeah, I remember that period. I mean, it was a big challenge
deadly,
and it's almost like the insurgent just moved back again on those communities.
We lost officers, and quite dozens of them.
Okay, now, do you think that the Buhari administration is willing to implement these recommendations that Zulum has made?
No, I just hope, truly, because this is not a matter that we should handle with levity. It is a time now that Buhari takes all these advices being given from left, right, and center, because he alone cannot say that he has a better mental capacity than all these people that are better, you understand, better placed because they are in the theater area, they know what is happening, you understand. So he can't say that he knows more than them. Zulum, as a governor of Borno State, or Northeast Elders Forum, they know much more than what the president knows, despite receiving intels regularly. But truly, they feel the heat of what is happening.
All right, let's have the views of Prof. The issue of insecurity is not a northern affair alone. Even in southern Nigeria, we have lots of states facing issues, and here you've had the Nigerian Army bringing the issues of several operations, Operation Crocodile Smile and all of that. How do you think that the southern part of the country can also benefit from well-coordinated security response that will ensure that Nigeria is safe?
I don't want to approach this as north or south. I want to approach it as a Nigerian. Okay, because every Nigerian has a right to go from one end of the country to the other, and you don't have to be north or south to do that. And let me go back to Governor Zulum's proposals. He's one of the governors who's impressed most Nigerians, I think, in this current dispensation, certainly of the crop of the most recent governors. And so everything he says has got to be taken seriously. But that said, I think we also have to understand that every war has a political economy. When you say, let's hire mercenaries, two things I want to put on the table. Number one, you are saying that we are going to have to award contracts. Somebody is going to award those contracts and somebody will be making money off of those contracts, right? That is the way it has happened. It happened under Jonathan. And when we are awarding contracts for mercenaries, somebody will be profiting from them. Let's be clear about that. Number two is when you're saying that we need mercenaries, you're saying basically our soldiers are not good enough for this. And you've got to ask yourself, why is it that our soldiers and units are not performing? A major reason is the fact that the service chiefs have overstayed. They have destroyed the succession and incentive and growth structure of the armed forces. The chief of defense staff is regular cost 25. The chief of army staff is regular cost 29. The next successor generation is regular cost 34, 35. That means regular cost 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 are gone. And therefore, the forces are demoralized. And it is up to the commander-in-chief to restore that in the forces. As I speak to you, the only person who is likely to be qualified to be the next inspector general is likely to be retired because he's a job, so that we can get somebody from another part of the country to succeed the inspector general.
Prof, just hold your thoughts there. I assure you that when we come back, you're actually going to take a look at these issues more. We'll just have to go on this short break. You're still watching This Week. Plenty more still ahead. Stay with us. To This Week, where we have the best of analysis and conversations. I'm Somna Sambo. And still on the issue of President Buhari and Governor Zulum talking about some of these recommendations, I would want you, Prof, to tell us the implications of having mercenaries, just like you were saying, especially in terms of procurement issues and all of that, contract issues, like you were saying, and then what it may also mean for the morale of the Nigerian troops who have been fighting this insurgency.
It's essentially a vote of no confidence on our forces, on our security assets and institutions, and on the leadership. And you've got to ask a responsible government has got to ask itself why. We've lost some of our best young middle officers in the campaign in the Northeast. And we are saying that the sacrifices of these heroes can only be remedied by foreigners who don't have any stake in our land, in our country, north to south, east to west. So the only people who can save us are foreigners. Here we are, we had a governor, Kaduna State, tell us on the day before the last election that we are sovereign, we are independent. And if any foreigner came to tell us what to do or how to do our elections, they will go back in body bags, right? NBC, by the way, did not sanction him for that, but that's another matter. Now, we are being told that the same foreigners who cannot tell us about our elections can come back and tell us about our armed forces. That is a very serious and irresponsible thing for any government to do. And as citizens, we've got to ask the question, how did we get here? And I do hope that, we all want a solution to the Northeast. And Jonathan did this, and we didn't, not enough of people asked the questions. We have to ask the questions now. How can we do that?
All right, Prof, this is just a suggestion by Governor Zulum. It's not as if the federal government has accepted that, but let's have your views on all of this. One of the recommendations also by Governor Zulum is for this civilian JTF and other, vigilante groups to be co-opted into the Nigerian military forces, especially the army, because they understand the terrain more and they will know how to tackle Boko Haram more. Some have said that may actually lead to a national security challenge because it may be difficult to actually know who is a Boko Haram informant or not, and then these guys being co-opted into the military like that, it's not a good tactic. What do you think about that strategy?
You see, if there is one proverb in Hausa that says, "Ruwan kashe gobara kowanne iri." In a nutshell, it means that if you have a fire incident, you take whatever kind of water to quench the fire.
Irrespective of where it's coming from?
Yes. What you want is to quench the fire. So it doesn't matter what kind of water, inflow, you understand, from gutter, from wherever. So I believe that this recommendation is also valid and logical. These young men, and particularly men in the Northeast that are helping the Nigerian army to fight the insurgency, I think they should not just be, they should be conscripted. Because in times of war, it is a matter of conscription, not even absorption into the military.
Yeah,
because you have to imagine it's an emergency situation.
I mean, we had those situations during the Civil War where,
yes, exactly,
where people were forcefully conscripted to fight the war.
So it's emergency. And still, back to the issue of hiring mercenaries, because we are having an emergency situation which we have to look beyond whoever is going to benefit from defense contracts for hiring mercenaries.
And one would want to think, was that the reason why Buhari cancelled that contract? Because he was afraid of corruption.
Let me come to that. We are still engaging Julius Berger to do projects in the country. Don't we have local contractors? But because we want finesse, we have quality, we want quality work, we want everything to go the way we want it. We had foreign contractors. Yes, CCC, whatever. They are still in the country.
Including the railways that Buhari administration is using as a sample.
Yes, exactly. This is why they cost. And if you hire a local contractor, he might not charge you up to that amount. But in order to get the result, you hire them. In this situation also, we need to get them back in order to finish these terrorists once and for all. We are really tired because they are slowly creeping into the Northwest, setting base in some of the forests. You can see in a lot of sources.
Yeah, I mean, like the Rubu forest and all of that stretches up to Nigerian Republic and all of that.
Exactly.
Now, let's just hold your thoughts there. Let's have the views of Prof. When it comes to this issue of security, most times the government just keeps saying that Nigerians do not understand the huge challenges that the federal government has on its hands, and that the issues of security are actually one that needs international collaboration. Now, the Minister of Information was saying that a lot of these global superpowers have refused to sell arms and ammunition to Nigeria, and until they receive those supplies, until these top countries actually agree to sell arms and ammunition to us, Boko Haram will keep attacking the country. What are your views? How do we go about getting these foreign superpowers to begin selling arms to Nigeria again?
Our problem is not foreign superpowers. Our problem is Nigerian leadership. Let's be clear. So the Minister for Interior prioritizes contracting for computers for something that doesn't take that is not a need, over addressing the fact that over 3,500 border entry points into Nigeria are very unmanned. So, for instance, if you go to Ilela, you can walk through Ilela in Sokoto State in the northwest into Niger Republic. Okay? If you pass, you can pass through Mayobelwa and cross into Cameroon from Adamawa State. As a matter of fact, if you go to Obudu Cattle Ranch, you can walk from Obudu Cattle Ranch into Cameroon in less than 1 hour. And all of these borders, I'm not telling you things I have not done. I have experienced all of these movements. If you go to Calabar, all right, go down to Ikang, and you can go into Cameroon, across to Akwa, and into Bakassi, and on to Mundemba in Cameroon. All unmanned borders. And the border in Ikang, for instance, in Calabar, is supposed to be a gazetted entry point, but it's largely unmanned. You can go in and out with or you can go to a Kondotiti in Cameroon from there. Okay? So I'm giving you specific names and places so that you understand these are things I have experienced. You know, when I was chair of the National Human Rights Commission, the security assets were telling us then, oh, you're civilians, you don't know anything. And it became quite evident that they probably thought too highly of themselves. And several of the things that they thought we did not know, we had advised on in too many other places. So nobody has a monopoly of patriotism. I think people have got to come to this with some humility. Every one of us, or most of us at least, who are not in Boko Haram or things like that, love the country and want the country to work, whatever our misgivings may be. The point, therefore, is we should credit one of us with good faith. That is not happening from the people in power. And the proverb, by the way, that Jaafar gives is also in my language. But I think the comparison between security and Julius Berger is misplaced. Our biggest budget is defense. We don't have a budget for keeping private contractors in Nigeria for roads. Why will we be spending that money on defense and the armed forces and still be contracting to bring in mercenaries? That's my question.
Yeah, and the question now is, the government has complained that foreign superpowers like the US and Russia and all of that don't seem to be willing to sell the required, equipment, armaments, and arms and ammunition and all of that needed to
what have
finally
they done
defeat
with the
Boko Haram.
equipment we
So
have?
what do you think that Nigeria needs to
Nigerians?
do differently to ensure that we get the superpowers to sell arms to us to defeat this insurgency once and for all?
I'll tell you just one thing. No government that saw Nigeria shoot Nigerian protesters in Lekki will sell you weapons, because they will face legal liability in their countries for doing so. All right? They will face legal liability. They will face political responsibility that they are selling weapons, particularly high-grade weapons systems, to a regime that is atrocious and uses those weapons to commit atrocities. That is the problem we have. And that is why increasingly we are going to countries, we are getting our systems, our weapon systems, from countries that don't care about these things. Few countries in the West would, if any, will think about it. That is the problem we have. So our problem is domestic. We've got to begin sorting out how we do this. Stop using weapons to shoot peaceful Nigerians. That will be a start. And then lying about them, like Mohammed does.
All right, we have Prof actually ventilating some of these issues, but we've also had the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Saad Abubakar, actually saying that the north is bleeding right now, and then a lot needs to be done. Apart from this excuse that the government has given that we're not getting the right support from these international partners and countries to sell weapons to us, how do you think that the government can also, in its own wisdom, use local knowledge?
Yes.
I mean, during the Biafran War, for example, we saw those guys manufacturing certain things, and then we've also seen during the Jonathan administration, weapons being purchased from the black market and all of that. All Nigerians want is for this insurgency to end.
Yes.
What are your views on this?
Yeah, truly, morale boosting is quite critical in this situation, and then removing the service chiefs, they have overstayed their welcome.
And you think that will solve the problem if they are removed?
At least it will help, truly, because I just can't wonder, as we speak today, General Buratai is commissioning golf resort in Abuja here. We are expecting him. I think this is the man that Buhari, for the umpteenth time, asked to relocate to Northeast. Yes, he is commissioning golf resort. He will not be remembered for building universities or commissioning golf resort or doing this center, whatever center, but for how well he fought terrorism, banditry, kidnapping to a standstill. So I just can't wonder, since I think the president, if we have actually a good leadership, a responsible leadership, the leadership should look into this problem.
Now we
had
General Buratai actually warning generals while he was, what's it called? That they should not interfere in the politics of governance. We're in a democracy. I mean, just saying as if he's afraid of a coup and all of that. Do you think that the focus is on regime security rather than national security by the Buhari administration?
Yeah, truly, I think that is majorly one of the fear that, okay, maybe if the situation goes out upon a kind of aspiring officers might think that they will strike. But truly that's not the issue that we're talking about. How to solve this problem? Remove them. Because they have proved terribly incompetent. They cannot solve this problem. They have overstayed their welcome. And
all right, I need to actually get Prof to speak on this very quickly before we go on this break. In 60 seconds, Prof, do you think that the emphasis by the Buhari administration is on regime security rather than national security because they are afraid of a coup or the government being sacked or something like that illegally?
Less than 1 second. Yes, absolutely yes.
All right.
Nothing else to add. You have said it all.
Well, you're watching This Week. Plenty more still to come. We'll just have to go on this short break. Stay with us. All right. right, you're still watching This Week, where we have the best of conversation and analysis. I'm Sumner Sambo, and we're still on the issue of insecurity across the country, with the federal lawmakers asking Buhari to sack his service chiefs, and the House of Representatives, for example, asking President Buhari to come and address them. President Buhari has now agreed to actually come and address them, and we're hoping that's going to happen this week. But we were speaking earlier on whether this administration is more focused on regime security or national security. And for example, I saw this picture of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, playing golf today in Abuja here. In the midst of all of these security challenges, we have the Nigerian Army also having a university and all of that. And there have been these calls that, is that really the focus of the army? Shouldn't it be to end this insurgency? Do we hope to see this insurgency go on for the next 40 years? As General Buratai has said? Well, I think Professor Chidi Odinkalu, you still have to expatiate on what you really meant by that statement, that you think that is the case. What are your views?
But I believe it was on your channel that President Buhari explained sometime in the past, by the way, that the reason he could not get rid of his service chiefs was that he knows them. And from his previous experience, he prefers to work with people he knows, because he cannot be sure about anybody whom he could appoint into the roles that the service chiefs now occupy. Essentially, what I'm just summarizing what I got from what he said, not exactly his own words. But what I got from what he appeared to say was that everything about his idea of security is determined by what happened to him in 1985. And he does not want a situation in which his priority is to preclude a repeat of 1985. So Nigerians can be killed. And here, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed is totally right. The president, when this president came to power, we were told everything could be sorted out by his body language, including infertility, including hunger. You could read everything from his body language. Well, let's continue reading his body language. Quite clearly, it says he does not care what happens to Nigerians. What he cares about is his skin and how it is secure in the presidency. And these service chiefs tend to appear to guarantee for him that he is safe, and he tells them, and they let him know that he is safe under their care. That is all he cares about, and that is all they care about. That, for me, is the central reason why we're here.
Let's talk about if you think that when President Buhari meets the House of Representative members, he's going to talk about, boosting a synergy between the security services so that we have, a close synergy to defeat this insurgency. What are some of the issues you anticipate when he eventually turns up there?
Yeah, truly. It should be one of the
very quickly.
One of the corrections, you understand, one of the issues that the president should look into. If you look at lack of synergy in the security cycle, is also one of the greatest problems. At times you will see that a sister security agency does not trust one another, you understand. And you will see that, like for instance, Nigerian Army is trying to establish, or I think maybe it has established, aviation corps.
The Nigerian Army Aviation Corps, to have their own aviation wing.
Just because all these vanity things, just because America has some bigger, you understand,
countries have aviation units in their army. Yes. You think we shouldn't have that?
What is Nigerian? Have we optimally, you understand, utilized the Nigerian Air Force capacity? You see, you have to give them more power, Nigerian Air Force. If there is synergy between Nigerian Air Force and Nigerian Army, a lot would have achieved in the fight against terrorism in this country. But you can see that most of the service chiefs, at times some of them do not even care to talk to each other.
All right. We just have to move to other issues right now. And I want to wonder, Prof, what do you think about the senators also complaining that Nigeria doesn't have a COVID-19 vaccine plan right away? Other countries are happy about this development of the COVID-19 vaccine. They've placed orders. We've seen the UK placing that order. But they are saying that it looks like this administration doesn't have plans, and they want the administration to actually furnish them with the plan for an approval, procurement, and then delivery and then vaccination of Nigerians against COVID-19?
You have to love our senators. They like wasting time. I love them a lot. But look, what's the situation? The UK has procured 800,000 vials of a COVID-19 vaccine that operates at a temperature window of minus 70 degrees centigrade. Okay? Minus 70 degrees centigrade presumes you have energy. You have NEPA. Let me put it the way we call it as Nigerians, NEPA, that provides what we call what? Light. These senators, how many of them lives on NEPA? Pretty much every one of them operates in their premises and in the National Assembly on generators. So why don't they start with worrying, how are we going to achieve minus 70 degrees centigrade before we get vaccines that operate in that window? Isn't that logical? But we're in a logical society, and they are thinking contracts, not whether these vaccines will actually work. Minus 70 degrees centigrade requires a lot of energy, and we don't have that at the moment in Nigeria. That is the crisis.
This COVID-19 vaccine?
Sorry?
Shouldn't we be thinking of purchasing COVID-19 vaccines for Nigerians? Because, we are part of humanity, and if we don't do that, some of our citizens may be stopped from traveling to other countries.
But I'm not saying whether or not you purchase COVID-19 vaccine is not my issue. The point, can you address the point I'm making? The COVID-19 vaccine that is available at the moment operates at a window of minus 70 degrees centigrade. Where is NEPA to get you minus 70 degrees centigrade? In the places where you will use them, apart from the houses of a few big men. That's the question I've got. Don't you think we should be addressing that issue?
With what Prof has said, do you think that we can easily provide funds, considering that the government, the federal government, didn't budget for this COVID-19 in the 2021 budget? We didn't budget for the vaccine purchase.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll have the funds, considering what has happened to our economy?
Yeah, truly, we have no option but to do that, really, because it's a matter that is involving health of the nation. And this pandemic is something that goes across, as you noted, that probably Nigerians might be stopped from traveling because they do not care to vaccinate themselves.
Oh, all right. Well, I've just been told that we are running out of time because of the issues that we have on ground. But I won't go without asking you, Prof, about the Ethiopian Tigray issue. Now, the UN has already secured this agreement with Ethiopia to allow, for aid agencies, groups, and all of that to get into that Tigray region to ensure that food aid, especially, is provided for citizens. What are your thoughts on that war and then this agreement?
I think it's an important thing that the humanitarian dimensions of that conflict, I'm glad you're calling it a war because that is what it is, but that's not what the Ethiopian government wants you to say. I do think you have a humanitarian crisis in that region. Ethiopia already before this was one of the top 5 providers of internal displacement in Africa, and a lot of refugees have gone on from there to Sudan. Sudan is also therefore experiencing an influx from Ethiopia. Refugees in Eritrea have been displaced also by this war. So that agreement was important. Going forward, of course, finally, I do think that the African countries, including Nigeria, need to weigh in because the fragilities created by this war mean that there's going to be tremendous instability in that region going forward unless there is concerted effort to de-escalate.
You have said it very clearly. Nigeria and other big countries in Africa need to intervene so that that crisis in Ethiopia doesn't get out of hand, considering that Ethiopia has a population of over 100 million. Well, I would like to thank you, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, former governing chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, for joining us on this wonderful conversation. And my guest here in the studio, Jaafar Jaafar, publisher, Daily Nigerian, and a former spokesman to former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Kwankwa. So thank you so much for taking our time to be with us. And it's on this note that we'll come to the end of this edition of This Week. I'm Sumner Sambo. Please keep it here on Arise News. I'm from the entire team here in Abuja. To my colleagues in Lagos and London, goodbye and thank you for watching.